count us down, and I'm all yours.
We're live. This is Jennifer Hammond. This is Merrill, Chandler. Oops, let's see which direction it goes. We're always flipped in these. It's like, what direction? So we're so excited. It's January 2023. Oh my goodness. And there's so many predictions because, of course, the real estate market has changed so much. So funding, getting your credit score, all this stuff. You know, and we're also, the other thing, Merrill, that's happening right now is a conversation we hear in all these different real estate offices are about all of these different lenders, the mortgage lenders that are going out of business. They're not even going to be around anymore. And so I'm curious on what are your predictions for fundability in 2023?
All right. Yeah, there's some great things because every if I can just do a shameless plug, every Tuesday at 3:45 on at Get Fundable Facebook, we do a what we call the fundability report. I flashed it there for a second. Fundability report is 15-20 minutes of what's hot, right? What's going on. There's been some patterns we've been noticing. So I'm glad you asked this question because first of all, we've had a number of mortgage brokers who are either clients or who've been considered, who've taken the course and doing all the tasks towards fundability and using some of that tech to support their clients. They show up on our weekly meetings, going, what's going on? My entire business is dropped. Some have shuttered their doors, and so there's a big contraction going on because people are staying in their current homes. They're not buying new homes. They're not, going, hey, I'm prosperous and everything's good. They're not contracting either. They're not saying, oh, let's sell this house and buy a smaller one because of the rates. Now, I would like to address the fact that the rates are typically over the last 40 years have been about 5.5% to 6.5%. So we have been spoiled for the last 12 years since the mortgage crisis of 2008 through 10, and so but people. We just want it to be what it was, right? I want 0.5% on my mortgage, right? I want 2% mortgages, and anything else is untenable. They don't want to participate. So what I foresee is a planing out, right? We've been going up every quarter. The Fed's been raising rates. I don't know if it's going to continue to raise or raise very much, but what I do see is that there are going to be a significant number of the mortgages are going. They started selling 228s, which destroy, and 327s, which is where you have 2 year of a lower payment. Some are interest only, and then they say within 2 years the rates will go up. That's what plummeted us. Those resets started the last the Great Recession of 2008 and the foreclosure crisis. They started selling those again this last year, and so there may be a significant increase in foreclosures that are, or people who are in default. What I'm interested to see this time, and this is my prediction, is that lenders are not going to jump on the foreclosure bandwagon as fast as they did in 2008. We found that in COVID, right? We found that there was so much inventory when they just literally took everybody's properties away from them, but nobody was buying, and so they sat vacant and empty for years in many cases. Fields, subdivisions full of empty houses that were all boarded up, and so I don't believe there will be foreclosures. Yeah. I do not believe that there are going to be as many because the banks want to maintain these long-term relationships. And you and I have been talking about this for over a year now, that Jennifer, is that they do not want to harm their relationship because it's a lifetime relationship with these borrowers, and it may be temporary. The recession is definitely going to be temporary. The question is it 2 years? Is it 3 years, etc.? So I believe there will be foreclosures, but it's not going to be a rush to foreclose like it was in 2008. And that's good news for all of us. And just like you see on the screen, do the banks love you? The issue is are you nurturing and developing your relationship with your banks? So if the people that they are going to either forego payments, moratorium on their payments, et cetera, are the ones who are actively pursuing relationship with their banks, which means before you go late, you're having conversations with the customer service reps. You're getting documented that you want to maintain a good relationship. You want to pay your bills. You're struggling because of the higher cost of living, the struggling because of the lower wages, whatever is affecting your particular life. If you tell them every step of the way, they are likely, based on the COVID response, they are likely to have your back. They're likely to put, they did 18-month moratoriums during COVID on mortgages. 18 months, some longer, but the bell-shaped curve was 18 months for most. So protect that relationship. Keep them informed. Do not be an ostrich where you stick your head in the sand and you're afraid to open up your mail. You're afraid to open up notices. Dive in. And if you're and we've got a great opportunity for you guys. We have a course that actually teaches you how to not be afraid. We have a course that actually sets you up for success and how to protect your assets, your resources, your cash flow during a recession. And all of that is available at getfundablejennifer.com. Just read the reviews of this course. Just read the reviews, because what you're going to find is we need to protect what we've got and use what I call the slingshot effect. The slingshot effect is what appears to be a drawback actually creates dynamic tension for you to be able to succeed further downstream. But we've got to take control of how we're using that drawback. So that's my biggest prediction is if we develop that relationship with the banks, they are more likely to show up for us in payment deferrals or payment moratoriums.
So to do a quick summary, let's talk about, first of all, there are going to be a lot of changes this year. It's not going to be like it was last year. So be prepared for change. And I always go back to that universal thing. There's nothing in this universe that stays the same. It's either going to get better or it's going to get worse. So, and that's the same with your relationship with your bank, is it's either going to get better or it's going to get worse. And in tough times, this is one of those times where I feel like we've grown up enough with all the ups and downs that now the banks are really looking for that relationship and that communication. And like you said, don't put your head in the sand. And this course that we have, Get Fundable Jennifer, go there, getfundablejennifer.com. It's amazing to learn these skills. But the other part about that that's really critical are your credit cards. Just like your banks, if you're starting to have trouble with your credit cards, you're going to tell them the same thing, right? Communicate.
In fact, during COVID, and we're going to use COVID as an example because they set the precedent that banks are willing to keep people in their realm, right? If they charge off a credit card and they don't get the money, and you go somewhere else to do your credit card shopping, they make money off of the swipes of your credit card. So they're sitting here going, how long could we suspend? By the way, they suspended the accuracy in reporting section of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which means you have to report 30 days late if it's 30 days late, right? They suspended that for COVID. It is, to my knowledge, all research, it has not been reenacted. There was no sunset period on it. And so it's still in play. The banks have the right to give you a moratorium on those payments and not harm your credit, because they're finding that if through COVID, they found that even on credit cards, not just mortgages, not just auto loans, but all credit instruments, that if they took time to build that relationship with the borrower came back and paid it off in arrears and got back on track and got back to using their swipes, which they would lose that entire customer who had been. Now, if you have been a bad credit risk for the last 10 years, not likely going to be assisted by this process. But if your borrower behaviors have been that honorable and in your integrity, and you've kept your word to the lenders, those borrowers are the one people who've had high credit scores and high fundability scores will likely be able to negotiate a temporary cessation of billing or otherwise based on what they call a needs assessment, right? They're going to do a needs assessment. Be honest, be fair, keep communicating 100% of the time.
Well, I think it's just going to be a really interesting year because things are, like, it's always changing and the rules are changing, but it's a game. And they want us to know because they do want us to win, because they want us to spend money. Just like you said, the credit card companies want us to swipe those cards. The mortgage companies want us to get mortgages. So they want us to be participating in there. So it's really important. So go to getfundablejennifer.com, learn more about that, getfundablejennifer.com. And then next week, I want to talk about real estate investors in this market and how they really boost their relationships, and whether they need multiple banks or just one. So
absolutely. Let's go there. Yep. Same fundable time, same Jennifer station. Let's make sure that we get this done, you guys.
Exactly.
And we'll see you next week, noon Eastern, and 10 a.m. Mountain.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Merrill.
Have a great day, Jennifer. Be well, everybody.
Thank
Bye now.
you.